Spellbound, Chapter 5. A supernatural displaying his powers in public and exhorting another to do the same, unheard of. Occasionally, a few will argue that it's time for the big reveal, for us to tell the world what we are, but they never gained much momentum or many supporters. It's a simple matter of statistics and history. Supernaturals account for a very small portion of the population, maybe half a percent. The vast majority of them are from minor races with powers so weak that most live their entire lives without ever realizing they are supernatural. Whenever humans have discovered evidence of our existence, we've suffered. They've haunted us. They've tortured us. They've killed us. Would it be any different today? No, most people today are enlightened enough not to burn us alive, but they still want to control us, test us, contain us. Having the power of numbers, we could do it. Maybe the guy yelling at Jamie was mentally ill. We aren't as susceptible as humans to things like schi- schizophrenia, but it does happen. If he was mentally ill, though, he was high functioning, because by the time we got to the road, he was gone. We jogged to the theater parking lot, hoping to see him peel out. No luck. He delivered his message and made his escape. Damn, I said as we walked back. I was really hoping he was nuts. No one listens to crazy people. Adam shrugged. As far as most people are concerned, anyone talking about raising the dead is crazy. I doubt he's worth worrying about, but the council will need to follow up. This will help. He lifted his cell phone. He snapped a photo of the sorcerer. It was a decent shot, enough to confirm that I'd never seen the guy before in my life. Adam sent me a copy, and I filed it anyway to pass around to some contacts later. We waited for Jamie in her dressing room. Well, that was a new one, she said as she walked in. Normally, supernaturals gave me crap for being too open with my powers. Did you catch up to the guy? I shook my head. Adam got a photo and we know his type, sorcerer, though that was obvious from the fog spell. He seemed to recognize Savannah, Adam said uneasily. And for once, it wasn't just someone mistaking me for my mother. He said my name, made me feel special. Just what you need. Adam grabbed the bottle of water from the tray. Anyway, if Hope's feeling up to it, we should get her to run with the story. Hope's day job was working for a tabloid. Specifically, she covered the paranormal, everything from Bigfoot sightings to alien encounters. Having her write about the incident might seem ill-advised, but that was how we handle a lot of exposure threats. Hope covered it, sprinkling enough false information to throw serious paranormal investigators off the trail. Something like this was bound to hit the internet, and nothing made people say bullshit, like having the story feature in True News. There's something we need to talk to you about, too, Adam said. The real reason we're here. He glanced at me, and for a second, I didn't know what he was talking about. Then it all rushed back. What's up? Jamie opened an icy bottle of water as she settled into a chair. Jesse isn't suffering from any lingering effects, is he? That kind of possession can leave serious physical bruises. They'll take time to heal. He's fine. It's me. I've lost my spells, my power. It's gone. The words stuck in my throat. Are you okay? She tightened the cap back on the bottle and rose. I'm sure you're not, but she stopped, gaze shifting to the right in a look I knew well. Ghosts? I said. She nodded, then rose and turned to the newcomer. If you were sent to protect me, you're about an hour late. Hey, Mom, I said. I said on casually enough, but it didn't feel casual. It never does. When my mom first became Jamie's spirit guide, the fates had threatened to end the relationship if Mom had too much contact with me. God, how I hated that. Threw tantrums, screamed at the heavens, cursed the fates the way only a 15-year-old would dare. Over the years, I come to realize they were right. If we couldn't be together, we couldn't keep pretending we were. We both had to move on. Still, I loved being able to have some contact with my mother, and it was hard, knowing she was right there and I couldn't see her, couldn't hear her, couldn't touch her, couldn't be with her. It's not your mom, Savannah, Jamie said. Not Mom? Who else would come to protect her? No, not come. Jamie had said, sent. Who would be sent to protect Jamie? My father. When she nodded, I turned to the empty air and said, Hey, again. It was as casually as I could say it, but there was nothing casual about it. I couldn't even say, Hey, Dad, because Christoph Nass had never been my dad. I only met him a few days before he died at my hands, caught up in a storm of grief, thinking he had Paige killed. I launched the knockback spell so hard that threw him into a concrete wall. I've been in a trance state, so everyone thinks I don't remember what happened, but I do. So does he, I'm sure. But when I brought it up once through Jamie, he stuck to the fiction that he died when the house collapsed. He said it was his own fault, that he screwed up trying to get custody from Paige, and he regretted that. But he was with my mother again, so he was happy, even if he did miss his sons and a chance to really get to know me. I missed that too. Sometimes I think about what it would have been like if Mom was still alive and Christoph had come back into our lives. I knew from my half-brother Sean that our father had been everything he could have wanted in a dad, maybe everything I would have wanted too. Maybe I'll never get the chance to find out. Not really. Anyway, awkward. Just all around awkward. If you guys need to talk, I said, we'll step out and... No, he's here for you, Jamie said. She glanced his way, listening. Then she blinked, startled. Can't you just... A pause and her cheeks flamed. No, of course. Right. Okay. Well, she forced lightness into her voice. Just take good care of it. I put a lot of work into making it just the way I want it. What's he? I said. Jamie's head jerked back. The water bottle fell from her hand. Savannah. Jamie's voice was pitched low, the inflections wrong. She let my father take over her body, full channeling, something she once claimed she'd never seen a ghost do. Since then she has a few times with my mother. She trusts her. My father, not so much. I knew he scared her, though she tried to hide it. In life, Christoph Nash has scared most people. He'd been heir to the most powerful cabal in the country, a corporation that gained and maintained its positions through raw, merciless ambition. According to everyone who known my father, he'd been perfectly suited to lead the company. Even my mother called him a ruthless bastard, though coming from her that was a compliment. My mother loved him. Jamie tolerated him only because of that. Yet she trusted he wouldn't have any reason to keep her body, so she let him do it once before, the first time we met after his death. To allow it again? Something was wrong. What's? I began. Sit, Savannah, please. I did. Your mother wanted to be here, he said. But the fates had sent her on a mission, and if she made a stop to see Jamie, they knew it was to speak to you. Figures. The fates were always sending my mother on errands. That was the bargain she made to return Paige and Lucas from the afterlife. Don't even ask how they ended up there. Long story, but to get them returned, Mom agreed to do a favor for the fates, which somehow turned into years of favors, proving that when it comes to dealing with otherworldly entities, it's not just the demons you have to watch. I need to talk to her, or to the fates. Can you arrange that? I could, he said. But I know what happened last night, Savannah. With your powers, that's why I'm here. My hands trembled with relief. Good. Thank you. It was a mistake. I wanted to fix the mess I'd made. But I didn't seriously mean I'd give up my powers. I didn't even say it out loud. Someone took advantage of you, sweetheart. A bargain requires a spoken or written binding agreement, not just a thought or a wish. I managed to smile. Next time I'll call you. You're the expert in demon deals. He chuckled. True, but in general my advice would be simply not to make them. In this case, though, you clearly were not making a bargain. We have no idea how such a thing could be accomplished. That's what the Fates have your mother investigated. The Fates? But they're the ones who did this. My heart battered my ribs. Aren't they? The Fates can be as devious and underhanded as any demon. But they aren't responsible for this, and they have no idea who is. I was screwed. My father assured me that my mother was on the case, and so was he, and this would all be resolved. Of course they say that. Of course they mean that. But if the Fates didn't know who zapped my powers, I was screwed. Even if my parents found the demon responsible, I couldn't negotiate it the way I could with the Fates. I had to reverse the whole deal, give up what I got in exchange for my powers. That didn't matter to my father. Yes, he agreed it was terribly tragic for this little girl and her grandmother, but Lucas could help with the court case, and Paige could make sure Kayla had a good foster home until it was resolved. What was important here was me. My mother felt the same way. Both my parents were fiercely loyal to friends and family. The rest of the world, not their concern. It was a thought of you. I thought I shared until given the choice between saving myself and putting Leah back in hell. I chose to spare her future victims. My father mentioned that too. Nothing overt, just a reference to that business in the warehouse, telling me it was very brave and under no circumstances was I ever to do it again. Pretty much the same message Mom had passed on. Terribly noble, but there be no more of that, thank you very much. As for my situation, I let my father assure me it would be resolved. I let him advise me to lie high, to lie low in the meantime. I let him ask Adam to take care of me while I was vulnerable. I discussed it all very calmly and maturely, and I did the same with Jamie when she returned. After that, I said I needed a few minutes alone and left the theater. Then I lost it. Started shaking uncontrollably, panic choking me until I gasped for breath. I vented my rage and frustration on the nearest wall, and it wouldn't have stopped if Adam hadn't appeared. He pulled me away and held me tight, letting me pummel his back instead, until I realized what I was doing and threw my arms around his neck and cried. Sobbed like I hadn't since the day I finally accepted that my mother was gone and she wasn't coming back. Now my powers were gone and they weren't coming back either. I was as lost without them as I had been without her. I cried until I realized I was crying. Me, Savannah Levine, breaking down like a little girl. I pulled back from Adam, my cheeks burning, my heart thudding against my ribs. The walls of the alley closing in. Adam standing too close, watching me too carefully. I took a step away. Don't, Savannah, he said softly. Please don't run. What am I going to do? I whispered. Without my powers, exactly. The same person you are with them, just a whole lot less dangerous. He was trying to make me smile. Instead, fresh tears filled my eyes. I was Savannah Levine, ultra-powerful spellcaster, daughter of a cabal sorcerer and a dark witch. Without my powers, I'd be a human. PI working for an agency specializing in supernatural cases, as useful as an ashtray on a motorcycle. It wasn't just that I needed my powers to investigate cases. I had a contact list filled with the names of unsavory supernaturals that Paige and Lucas couldn't get near. Unsavory but well-connected supernaturals who reached out to me because I was the daughter of Eve Levine. If they realized I was spell-free, they stopped taking my calls. Then, I had nothing to offer the agency, nothing to offer Paige, Lucas, Adams. My gut clenched and I staggered forward. Adam grabbed for me, but I pushed him away and ran. Another theater down the road had just gotten out, and the sidewalk was jammed with strolling patrons and no rush, just chatting about the show. I waved past little old ladies with walkers and shuffling old men. Just move. Please just move. My head started to throb as I slowed to a walk. I squeezed my eyes shut. Just what I needed. More headaches. I've been having them for days, but I assumed they'd been part of the poison Leah fed me. But I stopped ignoring the curses of a middle-aged couple that crashed into me. Headaches. They started when I first went to the commune, then seemed to come and go at random. Only it wasn't random. It happened every minute the witch hunter was near me. I looked out over the sea of faces. A hard blow to the back of my knees made my legs buckle. I fell against an old woman and she tumbled off the curb with a shriek. Headlights flashed. Someone screamed. I whirled to yank the woman back. The headlights veered out of the way as the truck driver swerved for the middle of the road. Metal crushed, glass shattered, hands grabbed onto me, Alan dragging me onto the sidewalk, the old lady too. He released the old woman and kept tugging me along. I wrenched out of his grasp and looked around for the witch hunter. But the crowded sidewalk was a mob now, pressing in from all sides. People shouted, cameras flashed, the stink of burning rubber filled the air. I pushed my way back to the curb. The old woman sat on it. Another woman crouched before her, asking questions. She seemed fine. In swerving to avoid her, though, the truck had hit a delivery van. The van driver laid across his steering wheel. One man yanked on the jammed driver's door as a woman cleared glass from the broken windshield so they could pull him out. I started forward. Adam caught my arm. Nothing you could do, he whispered. We need to go.